The photograph always watched me. Perched on the mantel, framed in silver, my late wife's smile glowed faintly in the lamplight. Margaret had been gone 5 years, but in moments of silence, she still felt like the only person in the room who understood me. That night, I was sipping stale coffee, the kind that tastes like ash when it's been reheated twice, when my phone lit up. The glow cut through the room like a blade. My daughter's name, Eva, flashed across the screen, and my chest tightened with both warmth and unease. She rarely called me without a reason. "Dad, you're not going to believe this." Her voice burst through the speaker, alive with a giddy energy I hadn't heard since she was a teenager. "I'm engaged." I sat up straighter, mug frozen midair. Engaged? The word didn't fit neatly into the quiet life I'd built alone. Before I could ask, she spun the camera around. A ring glittered like a prism, flinging tiny rainbows across her flushed cheeks. Behind her stretched an apartment I'd never seen before. Marble countertops, floor-to-ceiling windows, San Francisco's skyline glowing like a necklace of fire. A man's hand slid into the frame. Then his face. Tall, sharp features. A smile that looked manufactured for magazines. His arm curled around Eva's shoulders with a kind of ownership I didn't like. "Mr. Rice," he said smoothly, as though we were already business partners. "I'm Harold. You'll find I take very good care of your daughter." His voice was confident, oiled with practiced ease, yet something about it scraped against my instincts. Margaret would have heard it too. Eva laughed, oblivious. "Isn't he amazing? He's a crypto investor. He's got everything planned. We're getting married in March." My stomach dropped. March? It was January. I forced my lips into a smile. "That's fast." "When you know," Harold cut in, eyes glinting like polished glass. He didn't blink when he spoke. He just held his smile, steady and precise, like it had been rehearsed. I murmured the usual fatherly words, but the warmth never reached my voice. And when the call ended, my living room felt colder than before. Margaret's photo caught the glow of the dying lamp, her smile frozen, her eyes saying what I already feared. Don't trust him. Sleep didn't come easy that night. My mind replayed the moment Harold's hand tightened on Eva's shoulder, the way he dominated the conversation while pretending to defer, the speed of the engagement, the expensive apartment, too perfect, too polished, too sudden. Somewhere deep in my gut, where instincts live long after reason tries to silence them, I knew the story wasn't going to end with a father's toast at his daughter's wedding. It would end with something broken, and though I didn't know it then, that something might just be us. 13 restless nights passed after that video call. I told myself I was being paranoid, that Eva was an adult and entitled to her choices. But Margaret's photograph on the mantel said otherwise. Every time my eyes caught hers, I felt her silent judgment. "You're letting this slip through your fingers." When Harold called me directly, asking for a private man-to-man meeting, I knew I couldn't refuse. Curiosity and dread pulled me to a cafe in Manhattan's Upper East Side. A place too elegant, too deliberate, with marble counters and waiters who spoke in hushed tones. Harold was already there, waiting in a navy suit cut so sharp it could have sliced bread. "Mr. Rice." He rose, smile gleaming, handshake firm. His palm was damp. "Thank you for meeting me." We sat across from each other, coffee steaming between us. Up close, Harold's veneer looked thinner, like a coat of varnish over rotting wood. "How are the wedding preparations?" I asked, keeping my voice even. "Wonderful. Eva's dream wedding." He paused, then leaned in, lowering his voice. "But I wanted to speak with you, confidentially." There it was, the hook. My gut twisted. He spoke smoothly, like a salesman who'd memorized every pause and sigh. "My assets are temporarily frozen. Market regulations, nothing serious. But the venue, the flowers, the catering, they all require upfront payment. Can't let Eva know. It would crush her to think I couldn't provide. What she deserves, what you want for her, is within reach. I just need a bridge. 50,000. The number landed like a gavel. I stared at him, searching for sincerity in eyes that wouldn't meet mine. He fidgeted with a gold ring on his pinky, twisting it with nervous precision. His smile trembled for a fraction of a second before snapping back into place. 50,000, I repeated, my voice flat. Just until my funds are released. 6 months, max. You have my word. And proof. He slid a folder across the table, filled with glossy charts and official seals. They looked legitimate but too polished, like props in a play. Margaret's voice echoed in my memory. Truth is more important than comfort. But Eva's laughter echoed louder. Isn't he amazing? I signed the check. My hand shook as I tore it from the book, each second screaming that this was a mistake. Harold's eyes followed my pen like a hawk's gaze on prey. When the paper left my fingers, he snatched it too quickly, folding it into his wallet as though it were the crown jewel of his empire. You won't regret this, Mr. Rice. His relief seemed rehearsed, his gratitude hollow. He left within minutes, claiming urgent calls with vendors. I sat alone in that cafe, staring at the cooling coffee. Outside, the city thrummed with the ordinary lives of people who weren't gambling their daughters' futures on men with perfect hair and counterfeit charm. The checkbook lay open before me, a blank page waiting for regret to scrawl itself across it, and I already knew regret was coming. Sleep had abandoned me. Nights were nothing but fractured hours of staring at ceilings, Margaret's photo burning on the mantel like a silent jury. By day, I moved through my apartment like a ghost. Coffee went cold in my hands, meals spoiled untouched. The checkbook sat on the kitchen counter, open to the torn page, mocking me with its absence. I told myself I had done it for Eva, that protecting her happiness meant swallowing my doubts. But each time I replayed Harold's smile, tight, rehearsed, never quite reaching his eyes, I felt something coil tighter in my chest. On the 14th night, exhaustion gave way to resolve. If Margaret had been alive, she wouldn't have waited. She would have dug until truth had no shadows left to hide in. I opened my laptop. Harold Kensington. At first, the search results gleamed as perfectly as his suits. LinkedIn profiles, glossy tech articles, mentions in crypto blogs. Too clean. Too consistent. I pressed deeper. Harold Kensington plus San Francisco. Page 3 finally cracked the illusion. A business registration for Kensington Digital Ventures, filed only 6 months ago. The listed address? A UPS store. My stomach nodded. I typed faster. Harold Kensington fraud. The screen lit up like a crime scene under blacklight. Court filings. Los Angeles County. Case number CV 202478891. Defendant Harold James Kensington. Charges: misappropriation of funds, identity theft, investment fraud. My pulse hammered as I clicked through. The plaintiff was a woman named Rebecca Martinez, 29. She'd given Harold $180,000. Her photo showed trusting brown eyes, a diamond ring on her finger. The caption under the court document: engagement dissolved. My throat went dry. I searched again, adding victims. More names surfaced. Sarah Chin, 95,000. Jennifer Walsh, 240,000. Each story identical: romance, whirlwind engagement, vanished money. Each woman had worn a ring eerily similar to Eva's. I whispered her name, my voice cracking. Eva. The horror deepened when I found photos. Harold with Rebecca, arms slung around her shoulder. A smile cloned from the one he'd worn when I first saw him. Harold at dinner with Sarah, wine glasses raised. Harold with Jennifer, kissing her hand in front of a velvet curtain. Every ring glinted the same way Eva's had on my phone screen. I sat back, trembling, the glow of the laptop bleaching my skin. The silence of my apartment pressed in like a coffin lid. This wasn't paranoia. This was pattern. This was predator. I printed everything. Court records, news articles, screenshots of testimonies. Page after page spewed from my aging printer until the desk was littered with Harold's sins. Each document was another nail in the coffin of my daughter's dream. At dawn, with coffee cold and papers scattered like battle plans, I stared out the window at Brooklyn, waking to another ordinary day. People walked dogs, buses groaned along their routes, Children tugged parents toward schools. And I realized the truth. Eva wasn't marrying a man. She was walking into a trap. And I had only weeks to stop it. The wedding day arrived with a sky too beautiful for what was about to happen. San Francisco shimmered under a spring sun, its streets dressed in blossoms and salt air from the bay. The Fairmont Hotel loomed ahead of me, marble and banners and music spilling faintly from its open doors. Strangers in silk dresses and tailored suits flowed past, their laughter rising like birdsong. I clutched a small box in my hand, a necklace of diamonds I'd bought for Eva, more expensive than my car, a father's last offering, fragile proof that love could survive suspicion. Today you support her. Today you let her go. That was the mantra I repeated as the cab pulled away. My suit felt too tight, my throat even tighter. Margaret's voice haunted me still, but I'd silenced it with a dangerous hope. Maybe Harold wasn't the man those documents painted him to be. Maybe fathers could be wrong. Then I saw it. An easel stood at the hotel entrance, gilded frame glinting in the sun. Inside it, my face, enlarged, black and white, every wrinkle deepened, every line harsh. Beneath, in elegant calligraphy, entry forbidden, by request of the bride and groom. My breath left me like a punch. The gift box slipped in my hand, barely caught before it shattered on the marble steps. For a long moment, I couldn't move. Guests slowed, glanced from the poster to me, then hurried past with embarrassed silence. Some recognized me, the father of the bride, now displayed as an intruder at his own daughter's wedding. A few whispered, others looked away. "Excuse me, sir." A security guard appeared, broad-shouldered, polite. His name tag read Martinez. His tone was firm but almost apologetic. "You're not permitted inside." I stared through the glass doors. Chandeliers glittered above tables dressed in white roses. Music floated from a string quartet warming up. Every detail bought with the $50,000 I had given Harold. Money now festooned in blooms and crystal that I wasn't allowed to see. "My daughter," I whispered. "My daughter is in there." "I'm sorry, sir." Orders came directly from the couple. Each word was a blade. I tried to swallow, but my throat was dust. Guests streamed around me like water around stone, their laughter dimming when they passed the poster, when they saw me. The father forbidden, the father shamed. I set the Cartier box gently against the easel, beside my own image. The ivory silk shimmered in the sun, waiting for Eva's hands. Maybe one day she'd wear it, maybe one day she'd understand. I turned to the guard, my voice steady but hollow. "Call me a taxi, please." Martinez hesitated, his eyes flicking with sympathy, maybe even regret. "Of course, sir." As I waited on the steps, I looked one last time at my own face staring back. The man in the photograph still believed he could save his daughter. But the man standing here, rejected, humiliated, carved out of her life, wasn't sure anymore. And that was when something hardened inside me. If Harold wanted to humiliate me in front of the world, he had succeeded. But he had also made a mistake. He had reminded me that I wasn't powerless. The taxi carried me away from the Fairmont's shining marble like a hearse. My reflection in the window was pale, hollow-eyed, almost unrecognizable. In my breast pocket, the Cartier receipt felt like a cruel joke. Diamonds for a daughter who had exiled me from her happiness. But as the city blocks passed, something in me shifted. The humiliation still burned, but beneath it lay steel. Harold had played his game well, but he had built it on my money. And money, unlike love, could be taken back. I told the driver, "Chase Bank, downtown branch. Hurry." The banker's office was cool, fluorescent, antiseptic. I slid my ID and checkbook across the desk with deliberate calm. "Check number 2847, I said. $50,000. Pay Harold Kensington. Cancel it." The young banker, Jessica, her tag read, looked up, startled. "Sir, if the recipient has already deposited." "That's exactly what I want to prevent." Her eyes flickered, reading the weight behind mine. She tapped at her keyboard, printed forms, slid them toward me. My pen moved with the same precision Harold had admired when I signed the check, only this time the ink was a blade. With one stroke, the lifeline feeding Harold's wedding snapped. Jessica handed me a receipt. Stop payment confirmed. I folded it into my wallet beside Eva's graduation photo. Her smile, radiant in cap and gown, pressed against the thin slip of paper like a blessing. By the time I reached my hotel, dusk had swallowed San Francisco. From my window, the city lights blinked awake like fireflies, indifferent to the war raging 3 miles away in a ballroom dressed in roses. I poured a scotch, sat in the armchair, and waited. The first message arrived at 7:15 p.m. A voicemail from Harold, his voice still silky, but cracking at the edges. Mr. Rice, small banking glitch. Nothing to worry about. Call me. Then another. Then another. By 8 p.m., panic seeped into his tone. Vendors demanding payment. Cards declined. Excuses failing. The background noise grew louder. Voices raised. Music faltering. The first notes of chaos unraveling his perfect illusion. By 8:30, desperation. Please, sir, fix this. The wedding is falling apart. By 9 o'clock, rage. You did this. You've destroyed everything. You'll regret it. And then the 73rd call. Eva's voice, small and cracked. Dad, he confessed. Everything. Please come back. I need you. I set the scotch down, hand trembling. This was the moment I had prayed for and dreaded in equal measure. Vindication tasted like ashes when poured through your child's tears. Outside my window, a siren wailed somewhere in the city. I closed my eyes, seeing not chandeliers or roses, but my daughter's face at 7 years old, scraped knees and trembling chin, whispering, "Don't let go, Daddy." I whispered back to the empty room, "I won't." Then I booked the red-eye. The city glittered on without me, but in a ballroom across town, Harold's empire was collapsing. And for the first time in weeks, I felt something close to peace. 3 months later, summer settled over Brooklyn like a heavy quilt. Heat shimmered off sidewalks, children shrieked in sprinklers, and neighbors left their windows open to let the city breathe. My apartment, though, still carried the echo of winter, the silence of Margaret's absence, the shadows of Harold's betrayal, the weight of choices I could never untangle. A knock came at the door. Not tentative, not timid, just steady. I looked through the peephole. Eva. Her face was pale, her shoulders hunched under the weight of 2 battered suitcases. She looked older, not by years but by losses. The light that had once danced in her eyes was clouded, and for the first time in her life, she seemed smaller than me. I opened the door before she could speak. She dropped the bags and fell into my arms like she had when she was 7, scraped knees and trembling lips. "Dad, forgive me. You were right. About everything." The words cracked inside me, a mix of relief and heartbreak. I held her tighter, the scent of her hair mingling with the ghost of Margaret's perfume still lingering in my memory. He had taken nearly everything, her savings, her jewelry, even the small apartment she'd built with her own hands. But he hadn't taken her spirit. Not completely. She was bruised, not broken. We sat on the old leather couch, the same one where this nightmare had begun months ago with her first phone call. The television murmured in the background, until suddenly Harold's face filled the screen. Not the polished mask he wore at dinners and engagement parties, but a mugshot. His hair unkempt, his eyes hollow, his smile gone. Harold Kensington arrested on multiple counts of fraud, identity theft, and financial crimes totaling over $2 million. The anchor read. Eva's hands gripped mine, trembling. "I wasn't the only one." "No," I said softly, "but you'll be the last." Her tears spilled freely then, not just of grief but of release. And for the first time, I didn't feel the need to fix them. I just let her cry. The camera panned across a courtroom sketch of Harold, shackled, eyes cast downward. His empire of charm and lies had finally collapsed, not because of rage or vengeance, but because truth always rises, even when buried under gold watches and perfect smiles. That night, when Eva finally drifted into exhausted sleep in her childhood room, I sat in the living room with Margaret's photo on the mantel. Her smile seemed softer now, approving. Truth is more important than comfort, she had always said. And she was right. The truth had cost me my daughter's trust, my dignity, and nearly my sanity, but it had saved her. Outside, Brooklyn hummed with its familiar rhythm. People lived ordinary lives, oblivious to the wars fought in silence between fathers and daughters, predators and prey. I looked at Eva's suitcase by the door, scuffed and weary but still intact, and realized it was a perfect metaphor for us. Damaged, weathered, still here. Sometimes love isn't about holding on. Sometimes it's about standing firm until the storm passes. So there's still something left to come home to. I lifted Margaret's frame, whispering to her image. We survived. And for the first time in a long time, I believed it. Our 6